Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking a look here at Ubix or UBX, and this is a big request I've had for my community ever since the get-go, just because it keeps going down, 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 and we want to see if there's any potential, right? We got an increase here today, and we'll see what's up with that. And thank you to my patrons for requesting that I cover this here today. If you're not subscribed, please reference the link in the description below. See if you like what you see there. I actually have a Signal group, trading community, really awesome group of folks. So be happy to have you along and get to know you better. Now moving forward, let's go ahead and jump into the charts. I use TradingView.com desktop application. This is Bitcoin one-day chart. I drew a kind of an ascending wedge pattern here from the previous analysis, and that's just kind of arbitrary. It's not foolproof, but we might see a breakout to the upside here soon, as long as we can get through Monday's potential sell-off. And when I say that, I just mean that Mondays are notorious for sell-off days, based on the whales being back in the office, taking their profits. So just be mindful of that. That being said, we have a resistance at 56,000, support at 53,800, and a secondary support at 52,600. And we're well above the moving averages here, so all in all, really good shape here for Bitcoin. Just bear in mind, if we were to lose support at 53.8, the next major support is 52.6. All right, Ubix, let's see what's going on here, buddy. We got a one-day chart here, and it's funny because if you look at the big picture, this is nothing. At least it doesn't look like much. It was up 64% on the day. However, we look at this big picture here, and you can see a significant sell-off. In fact, this isn't the most appropriate chart. In fact, I think that there's other charts that you can look at that have bigger time frames, but it's not super important to look at that right now because we're kind of more so on the smaller side of things here. So just keep that in mind. We can look at other charts later to kind of get perspective, but for right now, based on the price action, where it's at, we just kind of got to focus on the short time. So we got a major resistance here, right at about, I'm just going to paraphrase and say 935, right? Instead of adding all the zeros, we're looking at 935. Price is fluctuating right now, right at about 667. So again, that's a pretty significant increase, but it could very well happen because you look at the history here, Ubix has a tendency of jumping significantly. In fact, I covered this coin back in April, one of my first coins that I'd covered on the channel. And what it was a bunch of, it had like two consecutive back-to-back bull flag patterns, and it immediately sold off after that, and it's been pretty much dying off ever since. Now, it's got a really good community of folks. A lot of people are invested in this, but unfortunately, a lot are at that higher point, and they really want to see if they can get their money back. I think it's potential. It's just that unfortunately, this does have a tendency of pumping and dumping. I've heard there's a lot of manipulation that can take place, so just be mindful of that. So definitely proceed at your own risk, but I can tell you that being right here at the ground floor wouldn't be a terrible investment, considering the fact that it does have potential to be much higher. It really just depends on who's controlling the market, right? Regardless, we got the 50-day simple moving average. The price is trying to break above that. It hasn't yet based on the one-day chart because we're still halfway through the trading cycle here. We think we got about 9 to 10 hours left for this here, so just keep that in mind. Good news is, though, keep this also in mind. We have the prices up over the 50, which is 50 RSI. And if you're new to that, RSI is a good kind of understanding of where the momentum is at. So you can see here, we got this previous little channel that it was working within. That right there, that was all bearish sentiment. Now that we're above, it's considered bullish, right? So hypothetically, we can get this candlestick to close above, which I think is fairly likely. Then we'll be above 50 and below 70 on the RSI. And that's a really good place to be because it basically just means that there's likely going to be, we might likely see a continuation because there's more room for growth. It's not getting stopped out at that potential resistance level of 50 on the RSI. We've also got MACD convergence a few days ago. Not much to really note there, though, because that's kind of said and done. But all in all, I think Ubix is looking pretty good here in a sense. Just keep in mind, what goes up must come down, right? It's up, what was that percent? I'm sorry, I forgot what the number was here. Yeah, so about 67%, just as a rough estimate in the last 16 hours. Therefore, if it's up 67%, we can expect a 33.5% reduction in price, right? In other words, it'll probably split the difference and average out somewhere in the middle. It's a really common characteristic of a significant increase. I mean, you look at the history here, you see the price come up and over, all good, nice little staircase pattern, and then it dumps out. And what's the average? 50%. Okay, almost every single time. So it may not happen right away, but we will see this eventually average out somewhere around 631 to 660 right here. Yeah. And we could even look at Fibonacci and kind of get a quick understanding what that would look like. Yeah, right there. There you go. About 643 is a pretty good average. So I would say that this will be the potential support for Ubix. Okay. So just something to be aware of again. Let's see how this price responds to this support level. If it eventually breaks below, consider trimming your position. But again, on the same accord, this is still fairly low price for Ubix, and I think that we kind of only have up from here, if that makes sense. Granted, it can still go down as low as 287, and that's literally a 50% reduction from where it's at presently. That's a lot of money, but be careful. That's why I say cautiously optimistic. I would say consider averaging your price down instead of putting a bunch in right now and just kind of good, right? So DCA, dollar cost average, as much as you can with this coin and just kind of see where it goes. But here's the bottom line. The reason why we see this increase, and again, you see this on a lot of coins right now, just based on the way that Bitcoin has progressed, there is a golden cross here. That golden cross likely pushed the price up. It's when you see a 50 intersecting with a 200 in an upward fashion, that's a 200-day simple moving average, bear in mind, not the exponential. Simple moving average, that's what you get when you see that. Likely on a 4-hour chart, but it's even more, I guess, potent on the 1-day chart. So those are things to be mindful of. People use the EMA lines in larger time frames. Don't get me wrong, it's not terrible, but it kind of gives you a false representation of the actual numbers because the simple moving average is a simple, it basically takes the last 50 days and gives you an average, right? The last 200 days. There's not a big, thick equation to kind of get to that exponential moving average, right? But keep this in mind too, the MACD also works with EMA lines, but that's the 12 and the 26. They're shorter, they respond quicker to the price action, therefore they're more accurate. So use the MACD on the 4-hour chart as a potential understanding here, because if we see here on the MACD, what was that? It was at 1 a.m. on the 9th. So right here, at 1 a.m., we had a MACD convergence. Okay, so this guy right there was telling us we're going to see the price increase because, and what that's telling you too, by the way, is telling you the bears have lost control and the bulls are taking control. Because if you look at this guy here, you see all this red, those are the bears dominating. That's the amount of volume that's bearish versus bullish. And you switch this up, look at that instant increase. Awesome stuff. Yeah. One last thing we want to take a look at here is the 1-hour chart, just to quickly identify the Ishimoku cloud. I'm willing to guess that we had a break above right around this time here. So let's go ahead and get this a little bit bigger. And you can see right there, the 4-hour MACD convergence basically was telling us that we had a buy signal, right? Well, furthermore, the price broke above almost in the exact same time frame, plus or minus a couple of hours. The price that broke above right in this range here on the cloud. Because if you're new to the cloud, consider starting using it right away because it is extremely helpful. It's better on the 1-hour chart, and what it does, it really tells us that it tells us when the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal, below the cloud, sell signal. Simple as that. So we just got to kind of keep it simple. But if you look back here, right, like just look at the history, because history does repeat itself. Price broke over the cloud, shot up, right? Broke below, stayed below for the most part. Now this is a period of consolidation, but once it breaks, it goes above and it stays above. And what's great about this too is working concurrent with these support level. What we'll likely see here is the price come down and potentially ride the Ishimoku cloud back up. It also works as a support level as well. At least it can. You want to see how it responds first. If it breaks into the cloud, you do not buy. You do not sell, you just kind of wait it out. Once it breaks below or above, then you consider selling or buying. It's kind of that simple. So my prediction here for Ubix is that it will continue to increase slowly but surely. I don't feel it's going to get much lower. But again, do your own research here. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but look at the fundamentals here, right? Ubix fundamentals is something you want to understand. You do that with every single coin that you invest in. So highly recommend you do that here as well if you don't already. But just know there's a lot of whales that do control the price here. So when they take their profits, we all lose out. So maybe be mindful of profit targets. Set correct and accurate profit targets. In fact, if you are a good enough trader, you become a good trader when you start setting goals before you get into trades, right? So if you're going to consider taking entry, set targets, set stop losses. Make sure you work within that and honor yourself and stick with it. Because if you don't, you're just going to be continuously changing things as you go along. You're never going to learn from your mistakes. It's going to be difficult. That's where I come in. I actually have a trading community, link in the description below. Check that out in your own time. See if you like it. I actually have an instructional video so you know what's going on, but I actually have signals that I send out to my community members, and everyone gets the chance to learn together. So it's really awesome. You can just one-click follow too. We got trading bots in there. It's a really awesome situation. So again, reference that in your own time, but I do want to thank you so much for joining me here today. Once again, thanks for the request to my community members. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good one. Thank you.